As Unitarian Universalists, we come together in worship each week to honor what is of worth, to celebrate the grace and abundance that surrounds us. In this hour, we pause the everyday rush and flow of our lives in reverence and in thanksgiving to connect with what is sacred, to remember our commitments to each other and to this world. Whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, whatever your name for the sacred, you are welcome to bring your full self here. I am the Reverend Kimberly Q Johnson. Welcome to this celebration of Women's Equality Day. Introduced by activist and Congresswoman Bella Abzug, celebrated in the U.S. on August 26th to commemorate the 1920 adoption of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. We are being led this morning in this celebration by our very own Myrna Truitt. Myrna, you can applaud. I applaud Myrna all the time. And now you're going to want to applaud more when I tell you more about Myrna if you don't know. She earned a bachelor's degree in literature from Georgia State, an MBA from Boston University. She retired as Director of Advertising Research at Newsweek. Myrna served many years as a volunteer with the Boston chapter of the National Organization for Women. One of the ways that she volunteered for NOW was by teaching a class on auto repair. Not only a big money maker for the organization, but transformational for the women who took it. Though she was raised a Methodist, Myrna found Unitarian Universalism when she was in her 20s. She was especially inspired by the church's active work in the civil rights movement. We are in for a very big treat this morning. Our musician is Stephen Skoldberg. Our tech hosts are Kent Martin, Donna Sutton, and Carl Wittenberg. If you are joining us, for those who are joining us online, we have closed captioning, if that is helpful for you. Here in the meeting house, we have hearing-assisted devices, if that is helpful for you. This is a good moment to silence your devices, if we haven't done that already, so that whether you are joining us here, or at home, or some other third place, we settle into this hour free from distractions. I have a couple of announcements. Today, after worship, we hope that you will stick around and join us for our beta test of our Righteous Minds game about moral foundations. I'm saying our. This is really John's baby. The idea is we will have a little live action role play as we investigate the different moral foundations that shape our own thinking and also the thinking of those who we might find ideologically opposed, so that we get some practice in reaching across aisles, reaching across boundaries, understanding how others are thinking. You do not need to have signed up. You can just join us. We hope that it will be enlightening and inspiring and a little bit fun as we get to know ourselves and each other a little better. You'll find other printed announcements in your order of service or the bulletin that arrives in your inbox every Thursday. And if you have announcements that you would like to the congregation, please get them to the office no later than Tuesday of the week you'd like them announced. Do we have any visitors who would like to introduce yourselves this morning?
I'm Sally Smith-Adams. I live down in Florida, and I'm here once a year visiting my friend Madeline, and we celebrate our birthdays together.
Welcome, Sally. I'm repeating for Zoom. Welcome, Sally Smith-Allen, who is a UU from Florida, here once a year, visiting your friend Madeline, and I think you said celebrating your birthday.
I'm next month, but we celebrate on her birthday.
Happy birthday to you both.
Thank you.
If you are joining us here or online, we hope you'll sign our guest book. It's a way for us to stay in touch and let you know what's happening here, and for us, hopefully, to learn a little bit more about you and how you might be more a part of our community. Let's take a moment now to greet someone, extend a more than casual welcome to someone that you haven't yet greeted this morning.
I have this thing here.
Now is the time to light our chalice. I am pleased to light this chalice this morning in honor of Abigail Adams, the wife of President John Adams. At the time, he was very busy writing the laws for our new nation, and she wrote him a Dear John letter. Dear John, she said, remember the ladies. If special care and attention is not paid, we will foment a revolution.
The first song that we're going to sing together in our hymnal, it is number 109, As We Come Marching, Marching. But you might also know it as Bread and Roses. The 1912 the Bread and Roses song was a theme of the 1912 textile workers' strike led by women, many of them immigrants, united from different immigrant communities for better pay, dignity, and respect in their work and in their life. The cry was for recognition that the women and all of us deserve bread of life, home, security, but also roses of life, nature, beauty, art, music, education. Please rise as you feel willing and able. 109.
Good morning. The first wave of the feminist movement was known for the struggle for the right to vote. In July 1848, the Women's Right Convention was convened, presided by James Mott, who was Lucretia Mott's husband. Women could not preside. Elizabeth Cady Stanton read a declaration of sentiments. She declared that women should have the right to vote. It was signed by 68 women and 32 men. It could not have been achieved without the support of men in that movement. And I would also like to point out at that time, it was supported by mostly the elite class of men and women. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony formed the American Women's Association to support the 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Susan B. Anthony voted illegally and was arrested. Coincidentally, she was recently pardoned by our current president. She died before she could ever vote. From 1860 to 1870, there was also a push for women to own property, and later movements occurred that were socially beneficial, such as worker safety, labor union organization, and the Gilded Age was ended because property tax was initiated. In 1913, at a women's rights demonstration, Inez Mohad Boissevant led the parade on horseback, declaring, "President Wilson, how long must women wait for liberty?" The suffragists chained themselves to Wilson's White House. And in Europe, many women were arrested and force-fed while in jail. It was a global movement at the time. The Equal Rights Amendment, which we still do not have in our Constitution, was proposed in 1922 by Alice Paul, but failed to get votes from enough states to amend the Constitution. And it still has not passed our Constitution. New York voted for it last year, and we in the movement in Boston got it added to the Massachusetts Constitution. Earlier, the Colored Women's Suffrage Association became the forerunner of the NAACP. And there was, within the early feminist first wave of the movement, a big conflict between the northern women and the southern women. If you ever saw the play, the Broadway play Suffs, they clearly demonstrated that conflict. And it was something that the early feminists really didn't solve. They didn't solve misogyny, bigotry, and classism. I would like to just mention that we have on display today my collection of early World War I and World War II government posters. These are original posters. The government actually asked famous artists to donate their time to paint many of these posters. And they portray, in essence, women's work on the home front. And I would like to especially point out the one for the Red Cross nurse. I read a novel once actually accurately researched about the role of nurses in the wars. And in World War II, women were recruited especially to be nurses, and they became lifesavers on the battlefront. They risked their lives in mobile medical units, the same as the men were doing. I think the posters represent the fact that history affects us all. These nurses later were not allowed by the government to walk in the Veterans Day parade, even though they'd given them the rank of officers. So I would like us to all think about our own roles during these wars and the role of women on the home front, and indeed women's work, which the old saying goes, is never done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Myrna. We want to invite you in this moment to enter into this time of reflection, meditation, prayer, taking a deep breath, settling into your body, considering, as we mentioned earlier, the abundance of our lives. I think I'm switching things around. Actually, I do want you to enter into this moment of reflection, hold on to it, as we actually sing a second hymn before we have a time of more quiet meditation. This song is number 212 in your gray hymnal. We are dancing Sarah's Circle. The song was used in the women's movement, and especially by religious women, as a way of reclaiming our name, reclaiming our time, reclaiming our place in movement. I invite you to stand if that feels good for your body, but also sit if that feels better, as we sing number 212 in our gray hymnal. We are dancing Sarah's Circle. Did not want to miss that one. as we enjoy our own summer day, we want to share this poem with you from Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? The grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous, complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is your plan? What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Let us hold these few moments in silence. The basket that will circulate is for the work that we do inside these walls. The basket that is somewhere, somebody give me a direction. The basket that will be on our chalice table is for our Helping Hand Fund, which supports local organizations in need. You are also, at this time, welcome to light your own silent candle. However you give, in the chat link, there is a link for your offering. In your order of service, there is also a QR code. However, and whatever you give, your gifts are greatly, greatly appreciated.
Get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You must try, try and try, try and try. You succeed at last. Persecution you must bear. Win and lose, you got to get your share. Then got your mind set on a dream. You can get it though hard it may seem now. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. Just try, try and try, try and try. Succeed at last. Rome was not built in a day. Opposition will come your way, but the harder the battle you see, it's the sweeter the victory. Yeah. You can get it if you really want. Get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You must try, try and try, try and try. You succeed at last. You can get it if you really try and try, try and try. You succeed at last.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you for each of your gifts. So we are doing something a little different, and you'll have to give us a little help with our microphone. We want to make sure that you can hear well. We could talk for literally hours about Myrna's experience in the feminist movement and what wisdom that has to offer us today. I say that because we have spoken for literally hours about these things. But we thought that we would structure this last bit. Oh, we have two. We thought that we would structure this last bit as a conversation. And my challenge is going to be to keep us reasonably on time. How's Myrna's microphone?
Can you hear me, I hope?
Awesome. Groovy. Okay, so our first question is, Myrna, what would you say, given your experiences and given your sense of the world now, is the most pressing, most important feminist issue?
Well, I think that reproductive freedom is probably the most pressing issue, but it's twofold, because economic equality is also important. But reproductive freedom has two parts. It has the right to choose an abortion, but also the right to carry children, to have children. Having children may be a universal human desire. And in Tennessee right now, a doctor has refused to treat a pregnant woman who happens to be single. He refuses to treat her pregnancy because she is single. Now, these kinds of things are going on. But the important part about reproductive freedom is we're living in a time of scarce resources, and it is a global issue, and it, in some ways, a woman's responsibility to populate or not populate the world. Are we in charge of saving the planet? We'll try.
That is a huge responsibility, to be in charge of saving the planet. Luckily, it is not only on women. When we talked, it was really important for you that we got the name National Organization for Women correct, because it wasn't only women that this is about. Can you talk about the role of men in the feminist movement?
Yes, I can. Well, first of all, the National Organization for Women was the only women's rights group that included men as members, and we always had male members. Many of them were husbands or partners or boyfriends of the women in the movement, but we also got a fair number of single men. I thought they showed good taste in order to meet some pretty interesting women. But I thought Michelle Obama spoke of it very well at the Democratic Convention when she pointed out that men are our allies, they're our husbands, our lovers, our brothers, our cousins, our fathers. And I wanted to point out that maybe it's time for a men's movement. I thought gay men got it, but they suffered an awful lot in order to gain some kinds of freedom, especially during the AIDS epidemic. But, well, a friend of mine was appointed by the governor of Massachusetts to be in charge of a coalition to go after absentee fathers, people who are not paying. But those are not the only absentee fathers. My father, I hardly ever saw him because he worked the night shift in order to get paid more money in order to support our family. And why is it that men are supposed to pay for everything? And now that women have learned the skills to create economic not exactly parity because women are still only making 85 cents for every dollar that men are, but particularly for single women, they're the poverty class. So I think it's time for a universal human movement.
A universal human movement. Well, okay, that actually does bring us a little bit to the third question. We might have time for more questions. Because we aren't just here talking about the women's movement, right? We're here at this congregation in this worship service talking about the women's movement and the feminist movement and women's equality. What would you say, for you, is that connection between Unitarian Universalism and the women's movement?
Well, a philosopher named Herbert Marcuse once stated that Western civilization mistranslated the Greek word eros for love, and Western civilization has interpreted it as strictly an erotic message. But I think that the Unitarians have got it right. They've got love at the center of it, and certainly the meaning of a family should include all forms of love, and it shouldn't be a narrow definition.
Mm-hmm. Can you say more about that? Like when you talk about all forms of love as the center of family?
Well, I thought that I was part of what was called the second wave of the feminist movement, and we were rank amateurs. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we made it up as we went along. But I think that in today's political times, when people are so divided, many people feel isolated. For example, the Proud Boys. You know, I think they got the name right. They should have been calling themselves Proud Boys. But I think it came out of feelings of isolation. And I do think that Western civilization, and particularly Americans, seem to feel that the idea of family puts people in isolation, single people, older people. And in fact, Europeans have a broader view of a family. And families these days are changing. The message of the women's movement is being absorbed into the culture. And there are different forms of families, extended families, blended families. When 50% of marriages end in divorce, we see people that have several marriages in their lifetime. And the definition of family is changing. Mm-hmm. And I do think that we have to listen to every human voice and every story.
One of the things when I was sort of first discovering feminism, like decades ago, this is maybe the 80s, maybe the 90s. This was more like the 90s, but I was reading these feminists from the 80s, people like Angela Davis, who talked a lot about the family as central, but also thinking about different ways of understanding family. And it seemed like a kind of utopian vision where instead of a nuclear family, we're all sharing our resources of time and energy. I just sort of imagine everybody living in a big house and everybody doing the thing that they are most apt and able and willing to do. And if we did all of those things, if everybody just got to do the thing that they wanted to do, then the world would just work out and everything would be fine. I don't think that has panned out. But I look now at young women and I see less of a focus on family and more, I think, a focus on I think I would say chosen family and personal identity and sort of living their own individual lives more fully. You said earlier that the first wave of the feminist movement got it wrong. I don't think that's true. I think that there's a lot to learn from previous waves of feminism, first wave, second wave. What would you say you are learning from later waves of feminism?
Well, I heard about a survey that was done that said young people today are having less kind of casual sexual relationships. They are looking for more committed relationships. And I did talk to a young woman who told me that she would like to meet what she called a snag, a sensitive new age guy.
This is a new one, a snag. Okay.
And I do think that it's generational, that you represent the third wave. But young people, it's going to be up to them. And I'm always cheered up when I see the role of men becoming involved in raising children, especially their daughters. I saw a sports event on TV. Tiger Woods was celebrating a win, and he had his son with him in the presser making a big issue. Meanwhile, his daughter was standing to the side being ignored. And whenever I hear men talking proudly about their daughters, I always send up a big cheer. So I do think that these things that we pushed for are given. It's a given. I once went to a Unitarian group to rewrite the Ten Commandments, and guess what? They forgot to write in, "Thou shalt not kill." It had been absorbed in the culture. And I think that's what's happening today. I think your generation learned the skills to accomplish wage earning and other things, good possible careers. And I think that men should think about the same sort of thing. And you know, it's time maybe they could take a sabbatical.
Like all men. Yeah. Not though, because there's a lot of work to do and probably too much for just women. And so I'm thinking about this 10th Commandment, which is so interesting because a few years ago we did a program with the children in this congregation. And so I had a class, there were some 7th graders and some 3rd graders, and we had them redo the 10 Commandments based in their Unitarian Universalist values. And what was interesting to me is I asked them what they would take out and what they would add. What they would take out is the commandment against lying, because they understood that sometimes a lie might be appropriate for a greater good. I don't know. But what they would add that was not that they did not find in the biblical 10 Commandments is love yourself and love others. And I thought, if that is the commandment that they would like to add, and these were all young women, love yourself and love others, then we are probably not doing too bad. We are almost out of time. Do you have a last word that you want to share?
Well, I guess that I feel many times women get blamed for things that they really shouldn't be blamed for. For example, Eve got blamed for losing the Garden of Eden. And I've heard by certain groups that mothers are the reason why young men are gay. They're too close to their mothers? How can that be? How can women be blamed? So I really do think that, that sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves.
Sometimes.
And Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." And I like that because he goes on to say, if you are true to yourself, then you are capable of helping others.
Thank you. This above all,
Yes,
to thine own self,
be true.
be true. Thank you very much. We hope that you will join us for Fellowship Hour. You will have so much more time to talk to Myrna, and even more than that, I hope that you will find some time this summer or this year to get to know Myrna and her life a little better. We have really only scratched the surface of her experiences and the wisdom that she has to share. For now, we have a final hymn for us to sing together. It is in your gray hymnal, number 121. We'll Build a Land.
We'll build a
Our benediction this morning is from Emily Dickinson.
Well, I would like to acknowledge Martha Potter and Jerry Boyer for their help with this service today. And now this poem by Emily Dickinson, who was known as the recluse of Amherst, Massachusetts. She mostly lived within her house. She hardly ever left her house, but she stayed home and wrote beautiful poetry. And this poem is a tribute to women and women's work. She sweeps with many-colored brooms and leaves the shreds behind. Oh, housewife in the evening west, come back and dust the pond. You dropped a purple raveling in, you dropped an amber thread, and now you've littered all the east with studs of emerald. And still she plies her spotted brooms, and still the aprons fly, till brooms fade softly into stars, and then I come away.
Thank you so much, Myrna. We extinguish our chalice with the unison words printed in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice.
I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain has gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, yeah, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, yeah, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright,